Welcome back to the Work of Wellbeing podcast. I'm Amy Green, your host from The Wellness Strategy, and we're here to talk about all things personal and professional wellbeing. This podcast is designed to help you become curious and consider your everyday wellbeing strategies, what you do for your own wellness, and how you can start to transform your life both in and out of the workplace. Sit back, grab a cup of tea, maybe grab a notepad, a journal, and get ready to feel really enlightened about what wellbeing used to be, what it is now, and where you can take your own wellness strategy. Hi, I'm Amy from The Wellness Strategy, and I want to take you through a little bit of an exploration into how we work, the work that we do, and why I'm really passionate about it. This is a little bit of an odd episode. I'm not sharing new ideas with you or necessarily unpacking anything to do with creating a great workplace, but I want to talk a little bit about the approach we have, and I think why it is perhaps a little bit different to what you might be used to when you work with a consultant or someone external, and I guess highlight why I work the way I work and what it really means to connect with myself here at The Wellness Strategy and my team. So I created The Wellness Strategy because I wanted schools initially to be able to become great workplaces. As a past educator and leader myself, it was really important to me. And I've worked in lots of different spaces where I can see schools want to do great things, but we don't always make the time to do it, and we're not always listening to staff voice, or we become stuck in the ways of doing things we've always done them. And whilst it might be good to stick to some tradition, some definitely is due for an update. And so I kind of fell into this work. You can, if you're watching the video, see my book behind me, The Teacher Wellbeing Here, because I wrote about my own experience as a teacher and school leader and the journey I went through, and then what I really wanted to see schools do, shift to being able to boost positive emotion, be moving away from being reactive in their approaches to responsive, helping people set boundaries that are not just like a line in the sand, essentially, but more so about empowering them to be able to work well and feel well and team well with others. Getting leaders to understand that it's about our infrastructure. It's how we wrap around what happens in our workplace. And because of this, I think what has happened over time is I've been able to create some wonderful products that have allowed me to do this. But more importantly than, what we do is why we do it. And I think for me, I now, having worked with thousands of educators over the past few years, what stands out is that we need to empower our people to make change. We need to empower people to be able to actually see the difference they can make and give people hope. And there's been some amazing research recently come out of Gallup that hope is what people need from leaders, because hope allows people to see that there's option, and without it, we become stuck. And I think in workplaces, we're seeing this shift. We're seeing a shift post-COVID. We're seeing a shift as generations shift and change, and we have more millennials enter the workforce and become leaders in those roles. And because of that, what a workplace stands for has started to evolve. I think not necessarily good or bad or even different, but just I think evolve is probably the best way to be able to language it, because it is an evolution of what people realize they need and want, and how things have changed over time, especially with the introduction and increase of technology. And so alongside this has become the idea of, well, how do we create a well workplace? How do we create a workplace that is not just producing a good product or a good service or whatever it might be, but how do we ensure we have a workplace that is also providing an environment where people can feel well and work well? How do they team well and lead well? And that's the framework we use in my second book, Wellbeing Leadership. And I think that's really core for us here at The Wellness Strategy. We want to be able to create pockets of well across your workplace. And that is first and foremost, how do people feel well? So through boosting positive emotion, through helping people understand from perhaps a blame mindset into a solutions-focused mindset, but also acknowledging that we really need high levels of psychological safety so people can feel like they can take risks and do their work in a meaningful way without perhaps being ridiculed or shamed, and that they know they're safe. We also then really want to build upon this by helping people to be able to work well. And that really involves our infrastructure and our systems and our structures and our processes. And that's predominantly where we spend most of our time at The Wellness Strategy working. It's helping build the infrastructure so that people can actually do their job, looking through it with a lens of productivity and engagement, performance and growth, and helping people know, this is what I do here. This is what a good job looks like. This is what I have to do to be able to know I can feel good within myself and walk away and go and live my life. And this is what I'm aiming for throughout each day. And these things are often unknowns, especially in schools. If I talk from a school perspective for a moment, there's so many grey areas. And because every school operates differently, unless a school has invested in building the infrastructure to wrap around these ideas so that people can work well, there's so much ambiguity. People don't know. Some people are I don't want to say working more or less, but that kind of is what it comes down to. And it's not because someone is trying to work more or less, it's because we haven't put these pieces of clarity around it so that people know what to actually focus on. And we, of course, want to help people team well. So think cohesive and collaborative teams, but also building psychological safety in a team, having a shared understanding of how teams work, because our teams in our workplaces are ultimately like our intimate family. They are the people we spend most of the time with. Now, yes, there are much bigger family members in our work environment. They're our extended family, but ultimately our intimate family is our team in our workplace. And so we want this place to be filled with psychological safety, but we also want it to be a place where people are working in a way that allows them to perform well so that everyone is contributing, but also people feel like they can have conversations with each other that might be necessary, but perhaps a little bit harder to have because they're about feedback or about talking about things that we agreed on that didn't happen, that might be about ways we can grow. And so sometimes this can be difficult, especially with people we like and we work with. And then lastly, we have lead well. Lead well is, as it says, how are we leading well? Leading ourselves, but leading others. And sometimes we think leadership is about managing and about doing admin tasks and about making sure that things are running smoothly. But we have to remember that leading is about leading others. It's about how do we lead beyond self. And so these 4 areas are really what we embody here at the Wellness Strategy, and we do a lot of work around. Now, within schools, we have for you our Thriving Schools partnerships, and this is something that we have been building over a number of years, and we have tried and tested in numerous schools, and we've really got it down to 3 key things now. So the first one is a partnership where we spend time with you collecting data and helping your leaders through the lens of wellbeing leadership to read and respond to data. And then we carve out bespoke tailored workshops that your leaders can be a part of. And I guess where we stand a little bit differently in this is we're not talking about a 12-month journey here. We're talking about an intensification partnership where anywhere from a term to a term and a half, we spend doing this work so that the rest of the time we have together, which is a 12-month window, is around mentoring and implementation. So how do I mentor you to implement the things that you need to do? Sometimes I find consultants or perhaps even the approach is to take a really long time to do this. And I think we just need to get in and do some work. So all of our partnerships are actually designed to do this. So the first one's around wellbeing leadership, and that is around working with leaders to understand some different data entry points around staff wellbeing, which we collect for you and then help you unpack to design an action plan and then build your leadership capacity in different ways based on that data. The second one then is, of course, staff wellbeing frameworks. And this is becoming more and more popular. We know that there are generic frameworks out there, and some of them are grounded in an immense amount of science and work really well. But I'm a big believer that we need to start to bespoke our frameworks so that they match our context and support the lens through which we see well-being for our people at work. And so because of that, we have a partnership that, again, is an intensification process where we help create your framework. And then in the second part of that process, we mentor you through the implementation phase, offering resources and checking in. And then we have our third Thriving Schools partnership, which is actually all about learning and teaching. What I love about this is that it's definitely fueled by data. So having spoken with thousands of educators in the past few years, what I can tell you is that I think the number one thing I hear is people want time to plan. They want to know what great planning looks like as their school expects it. They want to feel supported, and they want to know that they are confident in explicit teaching. And in my past life as a school leader, this was my jam. I loved this space, and this is why we're bringing it here. I am a big believer in explicit teaching and instructional teaching. I'm a big believer in differentiation and formative assessment, but I'm a big believer that this has to be well planned in order for it to happen effectively in the classroom. And that there is a process we need to unpack, which is what learning needs to happen and what activities support that versus what activity am I going to do, and then that's what I'll teach. And so a lot of my work in schools was based around shifting people out of activity-based mindset to learning-based mindset and letting that be the driver of what happens in our classrooms so that our students are met at their point of need, not our students meeting the activity they're being asked to do. And in a school setting, if I was ever to go back into a school, this is definitely the space I'd end up in. I could talk about it as much as I do well-being, but what I have what I want to share with you is that this is an evolution of what understanding workplace wellbeing. And I think for some time, perhaps we've thought it's about making sure that people have more time, or that they have meeting-free weeks, or that we put on a yoga class and get a coffee ban in. And those things can and do help at times. But now it's moving into, okay, let's remember that learning and teaching for educators is the job that we're here to do. And so we have to help them by ensuring our processes and our systems are really clear here. Our infrastructure is solid. They have clarity in what they're being expected to do. And when we do this well, the byproduct is better well-being. And that's why we have this third piece of our Thriving Schools partnership now that's going to actually come back to the core business that we do in schools, learning and teaching, but the byproduct is staff well-being. And I can assure you that this is what will happen if we invest in this space through the lens of staff wellbeing. Now, understanding that is a different thing because that isn't always clear and intentional, but don't worry, we will help with that. But I'm really excited for those three things. Now, if you're thinking, oh, this is great, but we just don't have the budget, we don't have the time, we have swim. And I have to be really honest with you, swim is pretty much everything. It's definitely going to turn into that in the next year or two. Every single thing that I teach sits in swim, and you as a school leader or as someone passionate about this space can facilitate it with your staff, because I don't want to exclude any school from this opportunity. And swim is, I don't really know how to say this without actually talking about it through a business lens. It's our just really low cost offer, to be honest. It's $3,999 for 12 months access to a whole range of resources that allow you to do this work in your school on your own. So it's not me coming in and doing it for you, it's you driving that, but we give you the scripts and the activities and the resources to run whole staff and team activities. We have a range of leadership modules in there as well, and also an individual course that every educator in your school can access for their personal well-being that they can do whenever it suits them. We just need their emails from them, and then we just sign them up and away they go. Now, this is a really low cost point because I don't think budget should exclude anyone. And I, to be honest, think this is a really reasonable price, because not only do you get that, you get access to me roughly 3 times a term for mentoring, plus our 24/7 online community where you can upload your framework, where you can ask questions, where you can prompt me for a resource, and I am there to help you. We aim to get back with you in 48 hours, but that is the idea of it, because I actually think there is an incredible amount of value in you being able to empower that change. And that's where we are a little bit different here at the Wellness Strategy. We don't run a stock standard program in terms of this is what it looks like and this is what we do in term 1 and term 2 and term 3. We are big believers in co-design and collaboration. It drives my business manager crazy a little bit, but I actually think this is how we get the most value, because you have to be invested in this journey as well. And you have to be a part of considering what can you do and what does it look like and what's going to be most meaningful for you. And I'm here to help shape that in a way that suits your needs, just like we do with our students. Yeah, learning first, activity second, versus coming at it from an activity lens perspective and then hoping that it just fits what you want. I don't operate that way. Anyway, that's a little bit about our story here at the Wellness Strategy, how we work and why we do what we do. If you have any questions, I'm sure you can figure out how to find me, email me, look me up on LinkedIn. As always, have a lovely day, night, evening, whatever time of day it is for you. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you somewhere soon. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I really do hope you have enjoyed it. The information discussed today was just that, information only. It's not specific advice. If you take action following something you heard today, it's important to make sure that you get professional advice about your unique situation before you proceed, whether that advice be legal, financial, accounting, medical, or otherwise. Please reach out to me if you have any questions, or if there's anything else I can do to support your own wellbeing and wellness journey, whether it's another topic you'd like me to discuss, or whether it's support in your school, workplace, or individually. And if you do know someone who might benefit from listening to this, please remember to tell them about it, share the episode with them, or suggest my Instagram, my website, or LinkedIn, where they can find out more about me and what I do. And as always, I will see you in the next episode.